Hi, Afghanistan, the country the people of, which has been facing civil wars and bloody incidents in the last 4 years. The wars have caused destructions, genocide, mass killing and forced migration to neighboring and further countries. Hazaras, as one of Afghanistan's minor ethnic groups, have faced forced migration both in and out of the country and have been suffering under the previous and the current Afghan government. Amir Abdurrahman, the king of the time, killed 62% of Hazaras. Hazara women and girls were sold as slaves in Kabul and Kandahar markets. Children and infants were slaughtered in front of their mother's eyes, and women and girls were raped in the presence of their families. The captives' ears and noses were cut and were stabbed in their eyes by hot metals. Killing children was fun and their hobby. In 1979, Afghanistan's government of the time first imprisoned, then killed and mass buried 3,000 to 10,000 of Chandawul Hazaras. In 1971, the so-called Nazar group and the Rabbani government started a mass massacre by attacking Afshar, an area in Kabul with Hazara residents. In 1999, Taliban killed 2,000 to 10,000 people, mostly Hazaras, after occupying Mazar Sharif city. In the recent years, Taliban, ISIS and other terrorist groups started targeted attacks on mosques, schools, shrines, wedding parties, official meetings, cultural institutions, enlightenment movement, hospitals, coal mine, landmine cleaners to systematically kill Hazaras in Afghanistan. That has resulted to the deaths of thousands of Hazaras, men and women, young and old, child and infants, and passengers. Moreover, according to the President of European Commission, Hazaras confronted genocide in Afghanistan. On August 14, 2021, a few days ago, the Taliban took over the country and regained power in Afghanistan. Amnesty International has accused the Taliban of the recently killing 9 Hazara men in a village. 6 of them were shot in the head and 3 others were tortured to death. The human rights organization announced the killing took place several months ago in Ghazni province. After the Taliban took control of all of Afghanistan, members of the group began searching house to house, harassing widows, young girls and men. In some cases, they take them with them to unknown places where there is no news of their fate. In the Hazara areas, the Taliban are looking for people with heavy taxes and taking people's property with them. They destroy the villagers' fields and set them on fire. The situation is really more chaotic and sad than what is reflected in the news. Hazaras, as one of Afghanistan's ethnic and religious minorities, have faced anger and discrimination of the government and groups in the country that has resulted to forced migration to near and far countries. The target killing of Hazaras has accelerated their forced migration. Most of them have migrated to Turkey and Greece and some to Malaysia and Indonesia. Indonesia, the country that hosts 14,000 refugees, more than half from Afghanistan. Refugees in Indonesia have been living in an exhausting situation for several years. Indonesia is not a party in 1951 Convention relating to the status of refugees or its 1967 protocol, nor does it have a National Refugees Status Determination Center. Because of that, refugees in Indonesia are temporarily detained so that their cases could be processed by the UNHCR and that they could move to their intended destination. Generally speaking, the Indonesian government and authorities hold an attitude of tolerance toward these temporary settlers, but they do not, nor are they required to provide for them essential life services such as food, shelter, and healthcare. Due to this difficult situation, we have witnessed several suicide attempts in the recent years. Refugees in Indonesia have been protesting in recent years because of lengthy resettlement process, including in Jakarta, where for more than 6 months, all the refugees have been protesting around the clock. A 9-year-old girl who has spent 7 years as a refugee in Indonesia. She has had all of her childhood memories here and has never seen outside world.
My name is Nazanin. I'm 9 years old. It is 7 years we're in Indonesia. It's not good. Why not in Afghanistan with my friends? Please help us. We go in somewhere good. We need your help.
Elaha, a teenager who has got so many dreams in her heart. but inaccessibility to education in Indonesia extremely hurts her. Let's hear her words by herself.
My name is Elahi. I'm 15 and I'm from Afghanistan. It has been 5 years since I've been a refugee in Indonesia. We had no choice. Taliban and other terrorist groups occupied my homeland a few days ago. They apprehended girls as my age from their family as slaves and raped us in cities. Girls are not allowed to be educated in Afghanistan, so we also were forced to flee from Afghanistan because of unfair people oppression and cruelty. We were full of hope that maybe after immigrating to Indonesia, we would experience a better life, but nothing is already. We don't have basic human rights. We can't go to schools or universities, our parents can't work. We don't have freedom. How many times do I live that I have to waste all of my life in Indonesia as a refugee? So where's the human rights organization? Why they do not help us to get out of here? My greatest dream is to live in a country full of peace and take opportunities to study hard again, as I used to and always was top of my class. Wholeheartedly, I wish one day to become a great honor for the country that I live in, and be helpful for those who have the same condition as I have now. You don't know how hard it is when you're full of pain, but no one either wants or will hear you. You have no idea how hard it is when the whole world turns its back on you.
Hussein Jafari, a refugee in Indonesia who has left his country 5 years ago for several reasons. His brother has been killed 2 months ago by Taliban in Afghanistan. He has so many heartbreaking unspoken words to say.
ما می‌خواهیم که از این بدبختی و از این آوارگی و از یک سردرگمی بیرون بریم به کشور سومی که حداقل شاید اونجا از لحاظ روحی به ما کمی آرامش بدهد. برادر من مدت 2 ماه میشه.
She is one of those 100 refugees who has been living a terrible situation in a refugee camp for more than 7 years in Indonesia.
I am from Afghanistan. I am Hazara. Taliban killed us in our homeland because of our religion and ethnicity. We emigrated to Indonesia to survive and have a bright future. But situation is very bad. Now it is 6 years I am refugee in Indonesia. We are a family of 7 that have been living in a 6 meters rooms for 6 years. We are behaved badly. My children can't go to school. We can't work. We don't have freedom here. Our children grow up without any education. Almost all the people get depression. We demand humanitarian organization to help us.
Benazir Ahmadi, one of the thousands of female refugees based in Indonesia for more than 7 years. She has tons of concerns about her children's future in here and the rest of the family members in Afghanistan.
Greetings to humanity. Majority of refugees in Indonesia are stuck here for more than 10 years. And sadly, the humanitarian organization and migrant countries are not intended to change these refugees' life. It has been a long time that we are confronting many issues as refugees. Worst of all, now our families and friends are under the operation and cruel rules of Taliban in Afghanistan, and they are killed every day. Perhaps we Hazara people are not from Earth. I am speechless. I don't know from where shall I talk about Afghanistan. That is Hazara residents are massacred in school and universities, or some others are bombed in wedding parties, or our mothers are shot during giving birth, or I should talk about here Indonesia, where refugees are extremely exhausted and depressed. They even commit suicide or die, cause of being ignored by UNHCR and others. Where are humanitarian people? Why they sat in silence? Shame on all the world. Shame on all the world's leaders. On the other hand, some governors reinforce their borders to prevent us to cross those borders. That's why we are imprisoned in the camps without having any kind of basic human rights. Refugees in Indonesia are in a terrible situation and miles away from basic human rights. We don't have freedom. We don't have such right to work, to study. Our youth and our teenagers, without having access to education, were hopeful to get their destination and educate again in peaceful and safe place. But unfortunately, now we don't have any hope to get out of this awful situation. The future of our kids are ruining. UNHCR don't care about what really we are going through. Hence, we demand immigrant countries and relation responsible organization to pay serious attention to Hazara refugees' condition in Indonesia. We want them to do something for us before sorrow of our families in Afghanistan kill us day by day. Benazir Ahmadi, one of the Hazara refugees in Indonesia.
قومی مذهبی من افغانستان را خیلی در شرایط سخت ترک کردم. مجبور شدم فامیل خود ترک بین خود که یک رقم به اندونزی برسنم. فعلا وضعیت در اندونزی خیلی خرابه دیگر. همیشه از افسردگی رنج می‌بریم چون آینده از ما نامعلومه. یعنی تقریبا 7 سال میشه که در اینجا هستیم. اصلا از آینده ما خبری نیست. ولی از لحاظ فیزیکی من احساس امنیت منم در اندونزی، اما از لحاظ روحی نه، چون که خانواده‌ام در افغانستان و از یک شرایط بد به سر میبرند. قسمی که میدانید در این روزا طالبان روی قدرتند و داعش هم در حال قدرت گرفته در افغانستان. وضعیت خیلی خرابه و من همیشه در فکر خانواده هستم و همچنین آینده خودم نامعلومه. همیشه در فکر آینده خودم هستم. هدف و آرزویم همیه که یک زندگی آرام و یک زندگی دور از جنگ، انتحار، انفجار و تعصبات قومی، مذهبی داشته شد.
According to so many genuine evidences, refugees in Indonesia face uncertainty and depression because of their lengthy resettlement process. Most of the refugees suffer depression and anxiety. As a result, we have witnessed several suicide attempt cases among the refugees in the recent years. If the resettling countries don't act immediately, we will witness more devastating incidents among the refugees stranded in Indonesia.